The views and opinions expressed by the host of Black Talk Radio News and any guest represents their views and their views only, and do not necessarily represent the views of the Black Talk Media Project or the Black Talk Radio Network. Scotty Reid here with a Black Talk Radio News commentary and report. On this segment, I want to take a look at a social media post that I came across on Twitter earlier today from W. Kamau Bale. This post kind of speaks to something that I posted on social media a couple of weeks ago, where I asked the question to my counter-racist friends out there: if your rhetoric is promoting justice, or is it motivating white people to practice racism? Or is your rhetoric pushing white people to practice justice, to question whether or not they are practicing racism, or are you motivating them to commit acts of racism? I'm not excusing acts of racism whatsoever, but I live in the real world, okay? So we got this post I found on Twitter from W. Kamau Bale. I think he has some kind of TV series or something that I heard about. I don't watch a whole lot of TV because of all the anti-black media, so I can't say for sure. But anyway, on this Twitter post, he is sharing a post from medium.com that a black woman posted. Now, medium.com as well as Twitter are white-owned platforms. Actually, media.com was started by one of the founders of Twitter. These are white-owned platforms. They are not black-owned platforms. Now, for those that are able to see the video, it says, read this. Number 1, 2, get angry. Other words, get into your emotions. Number 3, stand up for, and I'm sorry, but I have problems pronouncing names in different languages from different cultures around the world. I'm just a country boy from North Carolina, so forgive me if I have a country tongue that has trouble pronouncing some of these names. So also, number 4, repeat as necessary. Now, they're tagging this Cracker Barrel gate. So I'm thinking, oh, did Cracker Barrel practice racism against somebody again? Yeah, so let's see what this is about. So the screenshot says, at Cracker Barrel for the first time. This is from the black woman. She says, I'm at Cracker Barrel for the first time, looking at the sea of white folk in cowboy hats and wondering, will they let my black ass walk out of here? And the post on Medium, which we're going to go there now to Medium, the title of this post is Facebook's Complicity in the Silencing of Black Women. Now, I'm starting to take issue with the feminist community, especially the black feminist community, because they seem to think that they are the only ones that racism is practiced against them, discrimination, and bigotry. And I'm like Asada Shakur in warning black feminists that you can follow behind them white feminists all you want to. All they're going to do is divide our community. So I agree with Asada Shakur and her warning years ago, decades ago, over a decade ago or two about this. So anyway, I don't want to get off into a tangent on that. So this woman says, let me tell you a little story about something I like to call Cracker Barrel Gate. I'm on a road trip with my children across the western half of this country, traveling while black can be nerve-wracking. Not just the little microaggressions, but the fears for safeties. We still live in a country where black people are shot in the face for asking for help after car accidents. When I said I was going on this trip, a lot of people reached out to me concerned. Did I have an emergency plan? Did I know the places I was going was safe? The truth is, there is no real safe place for black people in America. Cops in Seattle are just as likely to shoot me as cops in St. Louis. But I used to travel to West for work and have long since did my "how racist is this town" Google searches. I was cautious but optimistic. Now, look, on my live program, which I just brought back, Black Talk Radio News is now live on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on blacktalkradionetwork.com. And I always say, I'm broadcasting from behind the enemy lines of USA Inc. The Inc. stands for incorporated. A lot of people don't know the United States federal government incorporated in 1871. And it's not really a government for the people, but it's a corporation for corporations. So I understand where she's coming from on that, and I tend to agree. But I also will point out that a lot of people are getting shot by cops out there, which I like to call slave catchers, or who I like to call slave catchers, because that's their job in 21st century slavery and human trafficking. So now remember, she's with her children. So she decided to get a little daring on this trip and stop in a Cracker Barrel. Now, if you really thought that you was going to be in danger by going into a Cracker Barrel, why would you drag your children along with you? That kind of tells me that you didn't expect to be attacked like you are saying in this tweet that apparently got deleted on Twitter. So this is what the tweet says. At Cracker Barrel for the first time, looking at the sea of white folk in cowboy hats and wondering, will they let my black ass walk out of here? Now, again, this goes back to whether or not your rhetoric is pushing white people to practice justice, or is it pushing white people or motivating white people to practice racism against you? Let me say, there's no excuse for racism, even though I find this comment to be very ignorant, and some of the threats, some of the racist names, they got into their emotions and they reacted from emotions. And so I'm just saying we got a bunch of emotional people out there. So, but anyway, now let's reframe this tweet that some people found offensive. What if a white person posted on Twitter, I'm at Kentucky Fried Chicken for the first time, looking at the sea of black folks in baseball caps and urban wear, and wondering, will they let my white ass walk out of here? Now, what do you think the reaction of Black Twitter to that post would be? Okay, they wouldn't be happy with that. They would be tagging or flagging that post and saying that it's offensive to black folks. So how do you expect some white folks not to be offended by this? Because you're saying that, hey, all white people are prone to attacking black women and their children. That's what you're saying. Now, you saying in this Medium post, which is a platform that's owned by one of the co-founders of Twitter, who is white, and you make a post on that platform and you're saying, oh, I was a little nervous and I was making a little joke on Twitter. Well, people don't know you making a joke unless you say, I'm just joking. All right? I don't think you were making a joke. I think you were making a provocative tweet. You were looking for a reaction and you got a reaction. So I don't know why people is complaining and talking about, boycott this, that, and the other. All right, you're on their platforms. These are white dominated platforms. What do you expect? What do you expect? And what did you expect when you went to a restaurant called the Cracker Barrel? Now, in this post, she talks about Cracker Barrel settling lawsuits decades ago because, and this actually happened to me. Now, I used to work at a Cracker Barrel. That was actually my first job in Gaston, North Carolina, as a dishwasher, along with about 5 of my high school friends, all of us black. We worked in the dishwashing room and bussing tables. They also had some black cooks. They had a black hostess. And I did not find that environment to be racist, okay? But again, just because that was my experience at the Gastonia Cracker Barrel does not mean that is how all Cracker Barrels operate. I actually, years later in the 90s, went to a Cracker Barrel with a girlfriend, and we stood there waiting to be seated for about 30 minutes and never got seated. So I didn't even feel like asking the hostess any questions or anything of that sort. I was like, look, they don't want my money. They won't get my money. I'll go somewhere else and spend my money. And I left. Now, I probably should have did like other people and filed a lawsuit for them violating my rights as an American citizen and discriminating against me based on skin color and race. And so, but I didn't, okay? I just launched a personal boycott a Cracker Barrel. That happened in the 90s. I've never been to a Cracker Barrel since. I just haven't been. And they got some good food too, but I haven't been to a Cracker Barrel since because I did not like my treatment. Now, this person in this post mentions that the Cracker Barrel settled lawsuits, but she went there anyway. Why would you go there? Well, she said she decided to get a little daring with her children, mind you, in tow, right behind her. If you thought that was going to be a violent environment or a hostile environment, why would you willingly take your children into that? I'm just asking people to critically think about these things, okay? Because we got a lot of people that are playing on our emotions as clickbait. And that's all this is clickbait. These people didn't know you was joking. And if a white person says something similar about black people or going to a Kentucky Fried Chicken or a Church's Chicken and all these black folks in here, and I'm wondering if I'm going to get out alive, man, y'all know Black Twitter would blow up on that. So let's just be real. Let's just be honest. We don't get anywhere playing games or telling lies or being deceptive. All right? So this another thing that I want to address in this post, the person also said that she's looking at the Americana and it's from a time period when our people were enslaved. Now, again, I used to work at a Cracker Barrel for about maybe a year and a half. I was in high school at the time. Cracker Barrel has a Southern theme to it, right? And a farm community theme. So they have a bunch of probably not real antiques, but they have like farm equipment, rocking chairs, barrels, and just stuff from, I would say, the 1950s era on the walls, and they selling different stuff. And they did not have any whips on the wall, whips as in what they would whip victims of slavery with. They didn't have any slave auction blocks or anything of the sort. This person is being disingenuous to play on black people's emotions. All right, it's just we have to be honest about these sort of things if we want to make progress. We cannot be deceptive like the deceivers who practice deception against us. All right, so I just found this post to just be about a bunch of nonsense, and possibly they made the same post on Facebook because they're talking about, she talks about how Facebook silenced her and what have you over this same post. So again, these are white people's platforms. It's their community, all right? You did not pay to be on there, even though there is a cost, and that cost is you don't get to say whatever you want to say because you are subjected to their rules, okay? They have their moderators and whatnot, and at their discretion, they will delete a post or ban you for however many days. Then people get mad. Non-white people will get mad, and then they'll be like, oh, they practicing racism, they shutting me down and all this and that. Well, you know what? Years ago, about 9 years ago, I started the North Carolina U.S.-based nonprofit Black Talk Media Project. Why did I start that? Because I used to be on a white-owned platform that does what they call blog radio. It is nothing but digital radio, where you host a little digital radio program. And I got shut down. I got suspended for about a week, but it ended up being 3 days after people complained. And they restored my platform. Restored my account. It was called Black Talk Radio, and white people was getting offended over the name, saying it was racist and all this and that, when there is a genre in the radio business called Black Radio or Black Talk Radio. That simply means that we are targeting a certain demographic, just like you got a platform called Red State out there. Who are they targeting? But Red State conservatives. So, it's like a keyword search. So if anybody types in Black Talk Radio in the search engine, it's going to be the number one thing. So it was marketing involved in that, who I am marketing my radio platform to. All right. And so I launched my own platform and opened it up to other black people. And I have long called it a digital safe space for black media producers. Now, not only do we post podcasts and conduct live broadcasts, we have radio streams on here operated by independent black media producers, but we also upload video. Now, another thing that I do through the nonprofit is I build these same sort of platforms for black people. All right. Well, actually, for anybody who wants to contract our organization to build them their own platform. But again, we market it to black people because there is a lack of independently owned black media of the non-corporate type. We're talking about grassroots media where we're talking about issues that are specific to us. So that was my reaction, not to tell people to boycott their other platform, but no, I build my own platform, then that way nobody can ever take my voice away. And now we have a lot of different individual broadcasters and podcasters. Some of them just simply operate off of blacktalkradionetwork.com, or they, as in the case of timeforoawakening.com, they contracted with us to build their platform, and they have their own platform. Guess what? In terms of social media, I built our own social media platform with the help of donors to the Black Talk Media Project. People were saying, you know what, we need our own social media safe digital space. So I said, well, I know the software that we need. This is how much it costs. I'll build it if y'all help me fund it. So they did. Black people put their money where their mouth was, made donations to the Black Talk Media Project, and now we have BTR Community. Now, in order to maintain and sustain the network, we charge $24 a year or $5 a month or $1 a week. Well, you might say Facebook, Twitter, all those other social media platforms are free, but those are capitalistic platforms. They're practicing capitalism. We're not practicing capitalism. This is a nonprofit. And so in order for us to pay for our media operations, we charge just a small subscription fee. And we don't bombard you with all these ads and stuff that you will see on other social media platforms. We don't data mine. We're not checking your cookies on your computer to find out the websites that you visited so that we can target you with some ads. This is an ad-free network and the only ads you will see is from the businesses of the members, and they don't have to pay to post that. Again, this is a subscriber-based community for just $24 a year. Now, one more thing that I want to speak to that she raises in this post where she's talking about, the overwhelming amount of Americana that appear to romanticize a time when people like me were enslaved. Well, guess what? People like you are still being enslaved, and Hispanics are being enslaved, Native Americans are being enslaved, white people are being enslaved, Asians are being enslaved. Slavery was never abolished. The 13th Amendment did not. All it did was transplant it from plantation slavery to prison slavery. Read the 13th Amendment. Okay, the 13th Amendment says involuntary servitude and slavery shall be abolished except as punishment for crime. Except as punishment for crime. Except as punishment for crime where a person has been duly convicted. Guess what? That means slavery was never abolished. Under certain conditions, we'll make exceptions for it. And as long as we can convict somebody of any kind of made up crime that we put on the books, then you can make profit off of their bodies, off of their labor. There are thousands of U.S.-based corporations that profit from the slave labor of prisoners in the United States. So, you need to recognize that fact and learn true history. So on August the 19th, as you can see here, there's going to be a rally and a march in Washington, D.C. It's going to be across the street from that White House that victims of slavery built in Lafayette Park. Starts at 11:30 in the morning. It ends at 5 o'clock p.m. And you will hear a number of grassroots activists who are abolitionists in this modern era of slavery and human trafficking as authorized by the 13th Amendment. So, this is one of the reasons that I'm not going to say I get angry, but I get frustrated when we have people who want to distract us with silly stuff that they provoked, and they are missing the whole point that slavery was never abolished. All right, so that's all I have to say on this. Stop playing in your emotions. Stop playing on people's emotions. Engage in critical thinking. Ask yourself, is the rhetoric I'm engaging in pushing white people to practice justice, or is it pushing white people to practice racism? Again, not making excuses for any kind of racist behavior out there, but at the same time, I'm not making excuses for people who want to engage in this type of activity where they are making questionable posts on social media. Then when they get banned or their posts get taken down, they complain and they ask other people to get in their emotions, as they're asking people to do, and making up a controversy when it should be no controversy. All right. So those are my thoughts on this non-issue. Again, slavery was never abolished. Check the 13th Amendment. Join with modern abolitionists at Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C. on August the 19th. Let's bring an end to slavery, and let's leave these people in their Cracker Barrels alone, okay? Don't go up in there and you know what to expect. So, wow. This is Scotty Reid with a Black Talk Radio commentary and report. Support the production of independent black media by making a donation to the U.S.-based nonprofit Black Talk Media Project. We're online at blacktalkmediaproject.org. We will build your own independent black media platform if you so desire. Check us out at blacktalkradionetwork.com. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to our videos so that you can get an alert. Also, follow us on Twitter at Black Talk Radio and Facebook, blacktalkradionetwork.com. Peace and blessings to all.